Loud. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, hi everyone. I'm Brooke Anderson. I'm one of the school-based therapists here at Westlake High School, and I'm so glad that so many of you could join us today for our Love is Respect speaker series. We started this program. This is our inaugural year. It's something that we've always wanted to do is focus more on healthy relationships for teens and really giving them more resources and more information. And so part of that I know is though also educating parents and making sure parents feel comfortable about how to help their students with a healthy relationship. So I'm going to stop talking because I can ramble on and I'm going to introduce you to our speaker for today. I do want to let you know that the chat is open, so please feel free to put in any questions. We'll have some time at the end. If something seems like really pertinent, I can, interrupt and kind of bring the question, but I think we'll wait till the end for the chat. And then obviously at the end, you're also able, if you're brave, to unmute yourself and ask your question. But I'd like to thank and turn it over to Barb Steinberg and let her introduce herself.
Thanks, Brooke. Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking your lunch hour for us to get together and talk about teen dating, healthy relationships with our teens. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to talk with you about that. So, Brooke, you're going to be admitting everybody as they come in. Yeah.
Yes, I will do that. I'll take care of that.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. So I'll just really quickly tell you a little bit about me in case you don't know who I am. My name is Barb Steinberg, and I am educated and trained as a therapist. I operate as a parent coach to parents of tween and teen girls and a teen life coach for girls ages 13 to 25. I also have a lovely coach on my team that also coaches girls as well. And then obviously, I'm a speaker on teen girl issues. Anything you can think of about teen girls, I love to talk about and love to come to you and your group. It could just even be your group of parents that, happen to be the parent of all of your daughters or your son's friends. So today, I thought when I was thinking about coming to you and talking about this topic, I actually last week I was at a school and I was talking to two different groups of 100 high school kids. And this is one of the topics. This was the topic we were talking about last week, which is healthy relationships, teen dating. And what I thought is, I thought I would present this information to you, how I presented it to them, because all of the girls that I work with one on one in the coaching practice, as well as meeting with them in a group, I'm giving them all of this information and all of this language to use. And I want to give it to you because you're with your teens every day and they need this information from you if they're not getting it from someone else. So, as Brooke said, I'm going to be kind of diving in and sharing some information. I'd love for you, if you have questions, comments, insights, I'm going to definitely have room at the end for you to share those because I think anything that you're thinking or wondering about, someone else is too. And so I hope that you will share anything that you're thinking at the end. Okay, so beginning. There are kind of overarching general questions that I think it's important for us to pose to our teens, for them to think about within themselves, to be self-reflective about this really important topic in their life. And I had a girl that I was meeting with last week. She's a coaching client. And she was asking what I thought were really important questions that I think as adults, we sometimes don't remember that teens might be thinking these questions. So she was asking questions like, well, how do I really know that I really like this person more than a friend? And if I do like them more than a friend, how do I even let them know that? How do I act? What do I do? What do I say? She was asking questions like, how do I know if this person likes me more than a friend? What do they do? What do they say to let me know? So I thought that these were incredibly important questions and really wise. And she was even asking questions like, well, I'd like to follow him on Instagram because I like him, but I kind of want him to ask me first because I feel like that would be an indicator to me that he actually really likes me and he's interested in me more than a friend, which I thought was really smart on her part. And it felt right to her. Another person might have no problem asking to follow somebody on Instagram to let them know directly and or indirectly that they like them. So these are questions that I think that we can pose to our teens to talk about with them, to get them thinking about how they want to present themselves in the world and how they can figure out how things are going, whether it's friendship or more. The other thing that we talked about is just because somebody likes you doesn't mean that you have to like them back. I know that I felt like that as a teenager, and I know that I work with lots of girls that feel the same. And you're going to hear me reference teen girls a lot because that is the population that I work with. However, I was lucky enough to raise a teen son or raise a son and hang out with all of his friends. So I would say that everything we're talking about today crosses all genders, even though a lot of my examples are with girls. Another thing that we talk about, I'm thinking a girl that I used to coach that was talking with a friend, a guy friend of hers, for probably 2 or 3 months over the summer. And they were having great conversations, and she was really enjoying what they were talking about. She felt like he was really kind, he was very complimentary, and really in her mind, he was very much in the friend zone. But over time, by the end of the summer, she started feeling herself feeling other feelings more than a friend. And that was a little bit confusing to her. And she sort of had to reconcile that in her mind. These are important things that teens are grappling with, that if you have a teen that is open to talking to you about it, I think it can only help to talk to an adult who's been through some of this. And when I say talk to, often what I mean is asking them questions. Of course, you have ideas and insights and wisdom to share, but always starting with questions is so important for them to really think about what is it that I want? How do I know how I feel? And they need the time and the space to be given these self-reflective questions to learn about themselves and to figure themselves out. Because one of the most important developmental tasks of adolescence is identity. Who am I? What do I want? What do I not want? What do I believe? And by asking them questions, they're figuring that out. Usually by adolescence, they have a pretty clear indication of what you believe and what your values are. This is a time that they're also discovering theirs, which might in some cases be different than yours, might be similar as well. So questions, so important. Now we're going to dive into how do you know that you're in a respectful dating relationship or a healthy relationship? And I know some of there's the talking to stage, there's the situationship, and there's the relationship. So this is crossing all of those descriptions of what our teens are experiencing. So what does respectful dating look like? You can make your own choices. Now, some of these are going to sound like no-brainers to us as the adults. They aren't to teens. So they do need to be reminded of this. This is not one conversation to have with your teen. It's multiple conversations over years as they are experiencing dating, talking to people, and so forth. So you can make your own choices. What you do, who you hang out with, what you believe, what you wear, how you behave in public or not, all your own choice in a healthy relationship. You treat each other with kindness and consistency. So consistently being kind. I can't tell you how many girls I've talked to that will say, well, when we're texting or when we're alone, he or she is nice to me or flirty or, friendly. But then when we get around other people, it's a whole different vibe. I'm not paid attention to as much, or maybe there's some like backhanded compliments or, maybe some snarky comments that don't feel so great. This is not consistent kindness. And we want our teens to know that that should always be there, whether they're in school, out of school, alone, at a party, in a group, consistent kindness. Interacting respectfully. So this is teaching and role modeling. So much of what we're talking today is really about not only talking to our teens about this and giving them questions to think about, but role modeling. So we're role modeling what respect looks like in our own home, with our own partners, with our own family members. We are relaying stories about work and coworkers or bosses and how we are respectful in those relationships. So what does respect look like in a healthy relationship? So it looks like we're listening to one another. We're not interrupting. We're giving eye contact. And I just want to give the caveat that I know our neurodiverse kids can have a little bit of trouble with eye contact. So that's something to consider. But eye contact lets us know that you are with me, right? You're listening to me. What I'm saying is important to you. Some kids need more help with that than others. Teaching them to ask questions of others. So, so, so important in a healthy dynamic of a relationship. So in the beginning of your situationship or your talking stage, you might be asking benign questions that are safe, that feel comfortable. Like what's your favorite band? Or what did you do last weekend? Or your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite class? How do you like lacrosse, tennis, golf, you name it? Those are safe questions to get to know someone. We're teaching them these communication skills. Then, as it gets further along and they hopefully feel safe, they feel comfortable, that's when we're teaching them to maybe ask a little bit more personal questions where they're getting to know each other on a deeper level. So it might be about, relationships in their family, or it might be sharing an embarrassing moment that happened in seventh grade or a traumatic experience that they've had in their childhood. As they feel safe and comfortable, that's when they can get into those. It is important to teach our kids to protect themselves emotionally and when they feel ready and safe to begin to share more of themselves. Treating each other fairly and equally. So this might look like allowing for different viewpoints, disagreeing on things that you think or things that you believe. Maybe you have different political beliefs, social beliefs, religious beliefs. That is there room for that? Is there space for that to be respected, to be listened to, even though you might see things differently? That should be there in a healthy relationship. Seeing mistakes as normal. So, a mistake might be, I can think of one girl that I coached that a guy that she was seeing, he said to her, "Well, you're not really what my normal type is." In his mind, that was fine to say. In her mind, that felt really hurtful. So being able to teach our kids to be able to relay um, what you said kind of hurt my feelings. Like, you remember when you said that? Like, that didn't feel so great. And being able to be direct in a respectful way, to be able to talk that through. Another mistake, I say mistake in quotes, but another mistake from a teen's point of view might be like, I texted you last night and you never texted me back. Or, you haven't called me for 24 hours. Um, I, I forgot my phone. I didn't have my phone on me. I know that sounds kind of crazy because they're usually attached to our hands at all times, but I forgot my phone at home, or I wasn't on my phone when I was doing my homework or when I was at my friend's house. And in a healthy relationship, you want to hear, like, that's okay. Like, it might be me next time. I might forget my phone, or I might be busy and forget to text you. And that's what that healthy relationship looks like. Communicating and sorting out conflict fairly. So, to give you, again, we are really important role models in what healthy conflict resolution looks like. So in our home, when somebody does something we don't like or says something that we don't like or kind of triggers us in some way, how do we handle that? How do we handle those feelings of being triggered or angered or upset? How do we communicate them? So it could be us doing that with our own partners in the house and demonstrating that for our kids. It could be that we had an incident at work with a colleague, and now we're sharing that around the dinner table to again teach our teens this is what happened, and this is what I didn't like. This is what I wish would have happened, and this is how I handled it. Or this is how I handled it, and I really wish that I didn't handle it that way. I could see that it didn't help, that it hurt the situation, and this is what I would have done differently. This is how our kids learn conflict resolution through us. So, giving you a couple of common teen examples of conflict, it might be I can think of one girl that I coached that she had a male friend and her boyfriend, and this male friend, she was very close to them, had known them for years and years, and they had a great friendship. And so they would text, they would call, they would see each other on vacation because they were family friends. And her boyfriend did not love that. And so obviously there was jealousy there, feelings of threat. And they had to talk that through, coaching her about being able to say what this friendship with this guy meant to her. and that she is a trustworthy person and that she wants a relationship that involves trust, that allows for trust and friendship with all genders. Another example, um, a girlfriend wanting to be with her partner as much as possible. So wanting to have every Friday and Saturday night together, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, like as much as possible. And her partner that she's dating maybe doesn't want that much together time. Maybe they're an introvert and they want some alone time, just hang out and do their own thing. Or maybe they want time to be with their friends, which is so incredibly vital, especially during the high school years. You and I both know that not all high school relationships last the test of time. So if the relationship might end in the future, then we want to make sure that they have access to their friends to rebound and to, be resilient and to have people to lean on and hang out with. So that might look like coaching our kids to get together with their person that they're dating and communicate what would feel good. Let's compromise on how much time we spend together. What would feel good to you? What would feel good to me? What's a happy medium? And teaching them the language. You're going to hear me a lot today talk about language because so much of what I do in my coaching practice, not just with teens, but with parents as well, is to give language of how to communicate in an effective, respectful, kind way where you're finding your own voice and asking for what it is that you want or stating what it is that you don't want. Another important piece of a healthy relationship, you're only intimate and touch each other when you both want to. Emphasis on the both. You both want to. We're going to talk a little bit more about physical intimacy in a bit. And it's okay to say no. So we say that to our teens, they need to hear it often. It's okay to say no, no matter what. So when I was talking with the girls last week and I was asking them, what makes it hard sometimes to say no? They said, well, we're afraid that we'll upset them, we'll make them mad, and we'll be rejected, we'll be broken up with. So that's obviously why our teens oftentimes they have a no in them, they have a limit, but they're afraid of speaking up and saying it. So it might look like, no, I don't want to skip class, or no, I don't want to go off campus for lunch. I don't want to play beer pong, drink a White Claw, smoke weed. I don't want to sneak out, you name it. These are hard for a teen who wants to fit in and belong and be a part of a group or a tribe, which is super important to their successful development. It's very hard to say no. And so we really do need to show up for our kids and support them in how hard that is, and support them in coaching them by giving them permission and language. So I'll give you an example. A teen that I was working with not long ago, she had a boyfriend of, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 months, and he asked her for nude pictures. When I said this example last week to the 200 girls, you know, half the room was started booing and, hissing and mad about it. But it's common. It's common. So her boyfriend asked her for nude pictures because of who she is, her values, her beliefs. That was not something she was comfortable with. So she told her boyfriend, like, nope, that's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. And he said, oh, okay. And then 7 to 10 days later, he was hanging out with his friends, and all of his guy friends were talking about their relationships and their girlfriends. And um, I have a feeling that they were talking about nude photos, and I have a feeling that his friends were saying that that was something common in their relationships, which made him feel left out, different, weird, whatever word you want to use. So then he went back to my client, his girlfriend, and asked for nudes again. She was stunned. She couldn't believe that in a week's time, she made it so clear with her words, that's something I will never do. And he asked again. So she felt very disrespected and very misunderstood and not heard. And she said to him, it's clear to me that you're not listening to my words and what is comfortable for me. And um, it's clear that we are not compatible, and what you want in a relationship is different than what I want, and we need to break up. And she broke up with him, which tells you a lot about that girl's level of self-esteem and self-worth, that she felt strong enough in herself to stand by her own values and to say that. A lot of girls don't feel that way. Using this example, feeling the pressure that if I don't, right, I'll upset him, make him mad, and then we'll end up in a breakup. And, for so many teens, they really want to experience dating and they want to experience a boyfriend or a girlfriend. That's an important part of growing up. And so there's a bit of, wanting to hold on even when it doesn't feel right. So this is why it's so important to talk about what a healthy relationship looks like. So moving into physical intimacy, what this was brought up last week with the girls as well, where they were saying how important it is for each person in the relationship to talk about what is okay to share with other people and what isn't okay. What is kept private between the two of us. So if we've done something physically or we've had sex, to discuss even before that happens, are we sharing this with our best friends? Are we keeping this between the two of us? Knowing that teenagers love to talk, they love to gossip, they love to be in the know, and that will get around. So important to talk with our kids about discussing what stays in the relationship, what's okay to share. We talk a lot, and it's important to talk with our teens often before they're even close to being ready to do something physical or sexual with someone, is choosing their partner carefully. And what does that even mean? Like, how do you know that this is a person that would be respectful and safe, so to speak, emotionally and physically, to share that experience with? So, do you know this person well enough now to have a sense of how they'll treat you a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, to know that this feels right or this feels safe for you? It's it's a myth. And I think in today's world, we kind of think, oh, so many kids are sexually active in high school. All of the kids are sexually active. I know that teenagers in high school definitely think that to be true. What many of them don't know, and I think this is important to share with them, is that reports tell us that only 48% of teens have sexual intercourse before they graduate. So that is roughly half, right? Half of the students walking around on campus have not engaged in sexual intercourse. A lot of teens don't know that. So they're hearing one or two, three friends that are saying that that's what they're doing. So in their head, everybody is. And I have heard from so many girls over 20 years say to me, I just wanted to get it over with. Feeling again like everybody else has done this. I don't want to be on the out. I don't want outside. I want to be different, weird. I just want to get it over with, which is a sad sentiment, you know? Um, I think if more teens knew that 48% of our students have not had sex before they graduate, then I think it would let some of the weight off of their shoulders, that it's okay to take your time and really figure out what is right for you, when is it right for you based on your values and what you want for yourself. So, talking about trying not to put pressure on yourself and really getting to know what it is that you want and choosing what's best for you. So there is, well, before I share this little video with you, the word consent is definitely a hot button word these days. Thank goodness it should be. I talk with girls often to say consent is an enthusiastic yes. It's a very clear yes, I want to do this. I want to go to the party at your house with no parents where there's alcohol, or yes, I want to make out with this guy. Enthusiastic yes. If it is anything other than an enthusiastic yes, it is a no. So if I were to ask someone to do something and they're like, I don't know, that is a no. Silence is a no. And no, obviously, is a complete sentence. Don't even need to explain my no. So I would love to show you this little, it's like an under 3 minute video that I think is fantastic to show teens because it drives home the point of consent in a really clear way, that is also kind of amusing as
If you're
well.
still struggling with consent,
Ah,
just imagine it.
let me
Instead of
let
initiating
me
sex,
share my
you're making
screen
them a
for a
cup of tea.
second. Okay. All right. Let me know. Can I get a little thumbs up that you guys can see this?
It's not up yet, Barb. Oh, wait, it's coming up now. It's starting to come up.
Awesome.
But it looks there we go. Okay.
You can see
Perfect.
that?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then let me know that you can hear it okay.
We heard it, so it's
If
definitely
you're still
Oh,
struggling with
great.
consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, I would love a cup of tea. Thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no, thank you, then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, "Yes, please. That's kind of you." And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, "Do you want tea?" Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, "But you wanted tea last week." Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat, going, "But you wanted tea last night." If you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
Okay. So that kind of drives home the point, doesn't it? I think it's pretty clear. Oh, Julie's saying great example. Yeah, I just think it is so clear. There's just no way of misunderstanding consent when you watch that, and I think it's so helpful to show that to teens to really get it. I'll share with you also, if you want to, at the end, I'll ask you if you'd like to share your emails and I'll share the content of today's talk and I'll include that link in it so that you can have that to watch with your teens. All right, boundaries. Boundaries is a personal limit that tells others what you are comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So there are different types of boundaries. There's a physical boundary, right? So I'm setting a boundary whether I am uncomfortable or comfortable holding hands or kissing, etc. An emotional boundary, sharing secrets or sharing feelings, being vulnerable and sharing my feelings with you, or answering personal questions. Those are emotional boundaries that it's okay to say, I'm not quite ready to talk about that or share that yet. And there's digital boundaries. So, boundaries with maybe social media. So, I know some kids that'll say, you know what, I'm going to remove Snapchat from my phone, and here's why. Or Instagram from my phone, and and here's why, to preserve their self-esteem and self-worth. I know some kids that will set a digital boundary and say, I'm not, I don't text after 10:30 because I want to go to bed and get a good night's sleep. Or I'm not on my phone when I do my homework because it's too distracting. And letting people in their life know that here are their boundaries. And knowing your boundaries obviously is really crucial in a relationship to be able to communicate, here's my limit. Here's what I'm comfortable with, and here's what I'm not comfortable with. So that kind of leads us into communication and assertiveness. And some of you have teens that are more assertive than others, like the girl that I mentioned with the nude pics. She was quite assertive. And your teen might not have that capability inside of her or him. Um, so we want to teach that to them, is finding communication style that fits with their personality. So I talk with girls often about I statements. So beginning the sentence with the I is really stating what you're comfortable with, what you're uncomfortable with, what you want, what you don't want. So teens often really need help with language. They need help with how to say something. As I said earlier, so much of my coaching is that we think that I think sometimes we can assume that they know what to say, but they really don't. And I love the idea of role modeling with our teens, where you are them first and you give them the words and then you switch and they get to practice their version of what you said in their own words. So, how could your teens say no? If we were to give them language, it might sound like, I'm not comfortable with that right now. I'm not ready for that. That's as far as I'm willing to go. I need some time before I decide. I feel uncomfortable when you pressure me to fill in the blank. I need time to think before saying yes. I really love these two that says, I need some time. Because so often our teens feel pressure to answer right away and to give a definitive answer, not knowing that they actually can go and think about it before deciding what's right for them. And oftentimes they do need time to think about kind of weighing the pros and the cons and weighing again the invitation with their values. So, red flags to point out to our teens is when they feel pressured to say yes, to not say no, when they feel unsafe to say no, when they feel uncomfortable to say no, or scared. These are red flags. These feelings are so important to pay attention to. And we really want to drive that important message home that their feelings, if they stop and get quiet for a minute or two and tune in to how they feel about what's been asked or presented, then they will have a much clearer indication of whether this feels right to them or whether they need to set a boundary. But it does take a moment to tune into their feelings. I say to everybody that I work with, you have an emotional guidance system. Your emotions are always guiding you. And so if you do feel uncomfortable, unsafe, any negative emotion, that is an indicator to you that this probably isn't your person or this might not be your relationship. And those feelings are really important to pay attention to and to act on. We want to say to our kids, oh, Julie's saying, oh, yes. Oh, this, yes. Everything is often instant gratification in the world. So they do think they need to have all the answers instantly. They get to breathe and think before answering. Think, yes, I couldn't agree more, Julie. So we want to tell our teens and remind them when they do set a boundary, when they do say, no, I don't think I want to do that, what they should be hearing back in a respectful, healthy relationship and I would say friendship in addition to relationship, is that's totally fine. I won't pressure you. You can let me know when you're ready. You can let me know if you are ever ready. You can let me know if you change your mind. It's okay if you don't ever change your mind. So, going back to that example of the nude pictures, she said, what you're wanting in a relationship is different than what I'm wanting. I'm not going to be ever ready for what you're looking for in a relationship. So, I think that's so important to be able for our teens to be able to say. And we do have different wants and desires in relationships. So it means he needs to go be with somebody who's more aligned with him, and she does as well. Um, Important to talk about with them. So let's talk about alcohol and drugs for a second, because this is definitely part of our teens' relationships in many cases, not all. I hear about it a lot in my practice. So what we want our teens to know is that inhibitions are part of your brain that gives you a pause button. It's intuition is a feeling. So that's why they've got to pay attention to how do I feel in my body, right? My intuition I might get a stomach ache, or my stomach might get tighter, or the hair on the back of my neck might raise. My palms can get sweaty. My heart can start racing. These are indicators that your body, your intuition is communicating with you. Something's off. Something's not working for you. Something doesn't feel good. They're subtle, but they're there for a reason. So that intuition, that pause button in your brain, it's a voice that's asking you, you're asking the question, is this safe? Is this comfortable? Do I want to do this? So when you drink or you use drugs, that part of the brain that holds judgment and self-control, it slows down. You lose the ability to stop and think and protect yourself in a way that you would have normally. So it's important for our teens to know your values don't disappear, like what's important to you, what you believe in or want. That doesn't disappear, but your brakes do when you're under the influence. So that's why we talk to our teens about when you're drunk, when you're high, and we don't even when you're under the influence, because oftentimes our teens will say, well, I'm not drunk. And, they've had enough alcohol that if they blew into a breathalyzer, they actually would be considered above the legal limit. So when they are under the influence, we want to remind them that people that are under the influence, they say things that they would never say when they're sober. So that's why fights break out at parties, and, you know, people that are dating get in fights and all that. They go along with something even though they feel unsure about it. Remember, the judgments slow down. They can't recognize when something feels wrong, right? That intuition, the volumes turn down. They have trouble speaking up, saying no, setting a boundary. They have trouble sometimes leaving a situation. They're not able to see if someone is not thinking clearly, someone else. And they take risks that they normally wouldn't. And these are important examples to give to our teens for them to consider. So one example is I had a girl that I was coaching, and she was at a party and she was drunk and she needed to leave the party or go home for some reason. And she didn't have a ride, but her friend said, "Oh, I know that guy. You can ride with him. He'll take you home." So she gets in the car, and the guy that's driving, she doesn't know him. Her friend knows him. He's not drunk. Luckily, he's sober. And there's another guy that he's also driving somewhere. That guy is drunk. So she's telling me the story, just, at full length. She's just telling me all the details. And then I said, so I just repeated it back to her. I said, let me see if I heard you correctly. You were drunk and you got into a car with two guys that you didn't know, one of which was drunk and one of which was driving you somewhere. And when I related back to her, she said, "Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound good, does it?" I said, "No, it doesn't. It could have ended up differently than how it did. Just because your friend knew that guy, you didn't know that guy. So you couldn't use your intuition to know this guy is safe for me. I trust this person. And now there are two guys in the car with you. So she heard that, luckily, but it took another viewpoint for her to hear it in a different way, for her to kind of get, oh, that was an unsafe decision. I wouldn't have made it had I been sober. So we talk with our teens about, later when they are sober, on a Sunday morning and they're reflecting back what happened Saturday night. They're asking, why did I do that? That's not really me. I wouldn't have done that if I were sober. And they feel down about themselves. They feel embarrassed. Now people are talking, rumors are flying, and it can be detrimental, obviously, to their mental health. We want to talk with our teens also about what does a disrespectful dating relationship look like? The other person's trying to control you, where you go, what you do, who you hang out with, what you wear, what you say, so on. Not okay. Blame and humiliating the person, for example, saying things like, if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have gotten so angry. This is all your fault. I don't even know why I'm with you. You're crazy. Using emotional blackmail. If you don't give me what I want, fill in the blank. I'm going to tell everyone that you're a fill in the blank. If you leave me, I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to end my life. This is manipulation and control. And we really want to tell our kids to reach out to a trusted adult and tell them that this is happening. Verbal abuse from the other person, shouting, using put downs. No one's ever going to like you. You're not even pretty. You're not any fun. You're dumb, so on. Verbal abuse, I would encourage your teens to come to a trusted adult to share this is happening so that they can process it and learn how to address it and protect themselves. Same with physical abuse. We want to be specific about what this looks like with our teens. Shaking a person in an argument, grabbing their wrist or their arm and not letting them leave or go where they want to go, obviously hitting and kicking them. Again, we really want to strongly encourage that they go to a trusted adult to talk about this. They need help with this, not to a friend, not to a peer who doesn't really know much more than they know. Sexual abuse or sexual assault from another person. We want them to know this is any unwanted touch or contact of any kind in any form that they feel uncomfortable with, that they don't want. I actually had a teen a few weeks ago talk to me about a friend of hers, a girl friend of hers, she was a girl, um, touching her in a way to try to like soothe her that she felt uncomfortable with. So we had to talk through, how do you address that? And following or harassing the other person, or cyberbullying. So tracking them, always looking at their location and, texting them about where they are and who they're with, repeatedly texting them or spamming them. Not okay, not a healthy relationship, of course. We want to talk with our kids about when people show you who they are, believe them. A very famous Maya Angelou quote. People will tell you, oh, I like you so much. I love you so much. I would never hurt you. And those words sound nice and we want to believe them, but we want to encourage our teens to actually look at the behavior and how they treat you. Does that line up with their words? That's what you want to listen to, the behavior, how they show up. We want to teach our teens to evaluate their relationship by asking themselves these self-reflective questions. What percentage of the time do I feel good when I'm with this person versus not good? What do I want that percentage to be? So they have something tangible to reflect on. What percentage of the time am I enjoying myself? What are the pros and cons of us being together? What might happen if we break up? These are all important self-reflective questions. Breaking up with kindness, super important. There's a lot of ghosting going on out there, right? Where they just sort of stop responding, stop texting, and there's no explanation. If we're talking about assertiveness and communication, we really want to teach our teens how to be able to be direct, preferably not over text, preferably in person, since this is involving emotions, to, again, give them the language to say something like, I think I just want us to be friends. I don't feel the same way anymore. I don't feel the way that you do. You've done nothing wrong. I just think I would prefer that we be friends. My feelings have changed. You want to give them the language because oftentimes they're really grappling with what to say and how to say it. And then lastly, this is a fun exercise that you could do together with your teen if you wanted to. I do it all the time in coaching, but I give them lots of questions to explore what it is that they want in a relationship, in a dating partner, a boyfriend or girlfriend. And I'm giving them so many questions like, what does this person look like? What is their family like? What's their relationship like with their family? What are their grades like? Are they playing a sport? What interests do they have? Do they have goals for their future? What are they? What's their personality like? What are their friends like? Like so many questions for them to flesh out. What would my ideal person be like? If we know what we want, we have a better shot at getting what we want. It helps us to be discerning when someone's not lining up with who we say we want. And the other thing that I always ask them is pick three things that you would like to do on a date or three places you would like to go. We want to empower them to think about what they want versus just responding and being reactive, but to be proactive. What would be fun for me? What would I like? Okay, so I just threw a lot at you. I'm looking at the time. We have 13 minutes left. So before we get into questions, I just want to remind everybody that this information will come to you. If you would like this content, feel free to share your email in the chat. I will send that to you. If you feel like you want coaching around your relationship and your parenting, I'm happy to support you as well as your teen. And then, of course, we talked about if you'd like to get a group together and talk about any topic related to teen girls, we can do that. So I would love for you to, if you feel brave enough, I'd love for you to share comments, insights, questions. As I said, most people, if you have a thought or a question, there are going to be other people joining us today that have the same and would love the answer. So hopefully you'll be brave and share that with everybody. Okay, thank you guys for sharing your emails. I'll be sure to send this to you. Great. Any questions about anything you're seeing with your teens when it comes to them wanting to date or being in a relationship? Anything that concerns you or worries you or questions you have about how to address it with them?
Barb, I have a question since I serve all 3,000 teens at Westlake.
Yeah.
We just have it seems like a real increase in it's like crushing after the breakup. And it's just really hard. It's hard to see your own child obviously struggling. My favorite quote is you're only as happy as your least unhappy child. Like it's just crushing as a parent. And it's really hard as, their school-based therapists as well. And obviously we provide space, we talk it through, but is there any like advice that you give to any of the students that you've worked with when they have gone through a breakup?
Such a great question. For most of our kids, that is going to be an experience they have in high school. So the first thing I want to say is that it's vital that we, as the adults in their life, create space for them to feel their feelings. It's hard to see our kids in pain. I get it, been there. And sometimes we want to fix it so badly. We want the pain to end. And that's our main focus is resolution. But we're skipping over a vital, very important step for their growth and teaching them and allowing them and encouraging them to feel their feelings. Grief is real. It is big. If you've had a first love, if you remember what that was like, I certainly do, that pain is real and it is big and it lasts kind of a long time for most of us. So we want to really empathize. We want to be understanding and let them know in some way, shape, or form, I get it. This is a big deal. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I'm so sorry this has happened. Tell me about how you feel. Oh, it sounds like you feel really sad or you feel confused, you feel betrayed, you feel angry. We want to name it for them. Sometimes they have a hard time naming how they're feeling. So creating space, it's not a one and done, right? That breakup grief could last weeks or months. So checking in, how are you feeling about it these days? That's the first avenue, creating space for the emotions and processing it so they can heal from the processing of it. And these are all intermingled. It's not, okay, I felt all my feelings and now I'm moving on to the next step. It's kind of happening simultaneously. So you know that when you've grieved something or been in pain, you might have a big cry for 10 or 15 minutes and then, okay, you're Shoulders relax, you've let out all the tears, and you're done for this moment. So now we want to teach our teens resilience, grit. How do I take care of myself in this moment that's painful? What can I do? So, what are the ways that I can behave or act or give to myself that allow myself to feel better? I'm not saying healed, but who can I talk to? What can I do? So, am I talking to one of my best friends? Am I talking to my mom or dad or my therapist or counselor? Am I exercising if that's my thing to do to process and to feel better? Am I having a dance party? Am I writing in my journal? Am I doing activities that bring me contentment or joy? I'm baking, I'm painting my nails, I'm going to play soccer, I'm going to see a movie. Helping our kids name what brings you contentment, what helps you to be distracted in a healthy way, and helps you to feel better in this moment. Tomorrow, you might have another moment that you need to grieve. And then when that moment's done, how are you going to take care of yourself to comfort yourself? How do you bring comfort to yourself? And getting really specific about it. So we need to know those answers for ourselves so that we can role model and give examples to our kids as well. Does that answer your question, Brooke?
Yes, it sure does. And it makes me feel much better that that's exactly the process I've been working through. But I just know for parents, it can, oops, I keep moving my thing, that it can, just feel really overwhelming. So I'm glad that you were able to share that. I just thought that might be a question some others have.
It is. And I'll add to that. I can think of a parent that I had in my office yesterday. We are so tied to our kids, obviously. We feel their feelings in a big way, and it brings up a lot of feelings in us. And so sometimes, in order to help our children process their feelings, we need to process our own. So we need to reach out either to a good friend or to a professional to process it as well to help. I think that's another important piece. Okay, we've got a question. How to address your teen when the boy doesn't approach directly, but mediate via mutual friend and lead your teen, but don't converse. Okay, I think if I understand correctly, I think you're saying that the boy teen is going through friends to converse with your teen. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. Yes. Okay, that is so common. So common, right? They are really working on confidence and they're working on self-esteem and they're working on communication. And it is hard. It is challenging. Do you remember being a teen and how terrifying it was to talk to someone directly, especially if you had feelings for them and there was a possibility of rejection and the feelings not being mutual? So, unfortunately, in today's world, I think phones can make that a little bit more complicated or a lot. And it's another way to kind of hide behind not learning communication. So, the tricky thing is obviously, if the teen boy is not your child, so you can't coach this teen boy on, hey, maybe you could speak directly to my daughter and let her know that you like her. But it's about who can I coach? Who can I influence? And it's your child. So if your child has feelings towards this boy, then maybe you can coach her around how she could be brave. What would that look like? Would she just make herself more available and hang around him more? Would she be friendly and more talkative to him? Would she be direct and ask him to do something? It depends on her personality, right? So it's coaching her on how she could feel empowered in this situation if she would like to start something with this young man. Does that help? Does that answer your question? Yes. Cool. Okay.
Diana has her hand up. Do you want to unmute Diana and ask a question?
Yes. Uh, I think one of the things that I've noticed is two things. One, going back to making decisions under pressure. My daughter is really good at doing that, but when she's under pressure, I feel like sometimes she um doesn't like gets very frustrated and angry about things like that. And then the other thing I've also noticed that some girls talking about breakups some girls harass the new girlfriend and trying to start fights and things like that. Is like anyone at like a talk for girls that is not okay to harass the boyfriend and vice versa, even boys harassing the ex-girlfriend. That's also like a form of abuse, I feel,
Yeah,
where maybe they're not uh, abusing them physically, but they are harassing them at school or things like that.
yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, Diana. I hear this all the time. I just heard it yesterday, in fact. Um, I just can't say this strongly enough because the level of pain that these kids are inflicting on each other, oftentimes using the phone, um, is really getting out of control. So even if you don't think that your daughter or son is participating in this, we still need to talk about how we treat each other in a kind, respectful way, and why we even have the desire not to. So, why would a teen want to harass this ex-girlfriend? What is that about? Is it about loyalty to this other person? Is it about jealousy or threat? Like helping them to understand why they even have the desire to do that is so important. And then and this is such an age-old adage, but it's really, really true, is to ask them to put themselves in that girl's shoes or that person's shoes. How would it feel to be cut out of the group chat, to not be invited to everything, to be put down or called names when she's done nothing wrong but actually happened to date someone? What would that feel like if you were in her shoes? And how does it really feel in your heart to do that to somebody else, to know that she's probably crying in her room every night and you are a part of that? Like, we really need to call our kids out on this and let them really examine their impact on other people. Hopefully that helps, Diana. And your first part of the question about having a hard time taking a moment to think about how you're feeling and what you want. The number one way to do that is to teach our kids, not in the moment when they're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, but in the moments when they're not, to teach them about deep breaths. 4 counts in, hold, 6 counts out, to ground themselves, to kind of get in the body and to connect with how they're feeling and what they want. And sometimes, you can do that in a classroom with a bunch of people around you. You can do it alone in your bedroom. But the breath and getting it slow and deep calms the nervous system and allows you to connect with what feels right for you. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. We only have 1 more minute.
Yeah,
So
if anyone has any last questions, feel free to unmute. But I just want to thank you so much, Barb. This was so wonderful. So thankful that you could join us today and impart all this wisdom. And I'm glad everyone is putting their emails. That's just another reminder. Please include your email in the chat so Barb can send you the information. And I will also, since we recorded it, we'll be uploading this to our Healthy Shaps website, and we'll put an announcement in our Westlake High School newsletter once we have that done. Give us just a little bit of time. We are not the most tech advanced folks over here. So just if you just give us a little bit, we'll definitely get that up. But thank you so much again. Really appreciate it. And do you want to let everyone know like where they can find you? Are you on Instagram? Are you?
I am, yeah. Everything is under my name. So my website is barbsteinberg.com. My Instagram is Barb Steinberg Parenting Girls. My YouTube has like over 300 videos on parenting girls, which of course a lot of it pertains to boys. That's also my name, Barb Steinberg. So you can just Google my name and you're going to see everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.